Dr. Toro, I understand that you study acculturation in Hispanic Latino families. Will you tell us a little bit about, in general, what it is you study?
Sure. I think very kind of self-serving. It's really a lot of it is based on my own like personal experience growing up as a daughter of Mexican immigrants, and how in many ways the experiences I had growing up were very similar to my peers. But then when I got into college and I got into my courses and I started researching things that focused or included Latinx children and families, there wasn't much out there, or the stuff that was there really saw it in a very deficit sort of perspective. So in the research, we know we call it a difference equals deficit perspective, that because they're different in this way, then that means that that difference is equal to a deficiency, that they're lacking in something. So what that really pointed to was that it's not an issue of deficiency, but more so not an issue of deficiency on the population's part, but more on the onus of researchers being able to really find more culturally sensitive and measures that are properly normed on different, racial, ethnic, and cultural groups. So that's sort of, early on it was based on my experience, and then later, as things got a little bit more formalized, it was really based on how in many ways, the research is kind of limited in what we know about Latinx families, but then what we do know, how it's kind of misperceived as being sort of problematic or deficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of the research also, when there's articles based on Latinx children and families, they're gonna come from a few different places. It's either LA, the Bay Area, somewhere in Texas, Florida, if you're thinking about Cubans, or, New York. And so Fresno, it's such a densely populated area, but it's, super understudied. And so you can't really say with a certain level of certainty that the findings from samples out of LA or the Bay Area are going to map out exactly as they would for families in the Central Valley too.
Wow.
Because there's structural differences in the context in
Uh-huh.
which these families are developing and growing up in.
It's kind of wrong to assume that all Latinx families are the same as
Right.
every other Latinx family out there. And so you're looking at different populations, things that have been looked at in other populations you're looking at here in Fresno.
Exactly. So it's really this making sure that we don't assume this homogeny within the Latinx community. There's more heterogeneity, more differences, more
Yeah.
nuances to the dynamics of this group.